like rallying, you need to go and buy this game. Here's why. Yes, Assetto Corsa Rally is here on PC via Steam, and for £24.99 or $29.99 if you're paying in dollars or euros, this game is already a must-buy if you're keen on rally simulation. Now, we have previously done an initial hands-on video with Assetto Corsa Rally from the launch event at the Sim Racing Expo, which you should check out if you want to find out more about the new development team. This video, though, is a bit different because we have been properly hands-on at home with the sim, and we're going to be bringing you far more details about the game itself. So what exactly makes this such an exciting prospect? Well, it is a realism-first rally sim. The development team have very clearly been aiming to make this as authentic an experience as possible, and based on what we're actually experiencing and playing here in the first iteration of Early Access, that development direction couldn't be clearer to see. There are already plenty of early murmurs that this might finally be the rally sim that takes the challenge to that 2004 title that we won't speak of too much in this video if we can avoid it, because the comparisons are going to be everywhere. Yes, if you don't know, I'm talking about Richard Burns Rally. So what are the key ingredients that make up an authentic rallying experience? The essence of rallying, for me at least, boils down to three things. You versus the car, you versus the environment, and you versus the clock. So what a true rally sim needs is, first of all, a car that feels authentic, that feels natural to drive, feels connected to you and your steering wheel, feels connected to the road surface. We need a stage that feels alive, that has atmosphere, that challenges you, has variety, interesting visuals, and immersive road surfaces too. And then we also need competition that actually gives a bit of meaning to you versus the clock. Nail these three areas and you have solid foundations to build on. And nail these three areas, Assetto Corsa Rally does. We'll begin by talking about the cars. They are all laser scanned and cover a range of eras and characteristics. We have the modern fire-spitting Rally 2 Hyundai, a Delta Integrale and Citroen Zara covering the transitional years from Group A into WRC regulations. And we also have the true classics, whether that's the beginner-friendly Mini Cooper, which sort of represents the birth of competitive rallying in many ways, or the rear-wheel drive Fiat 131 Abarth, Lancia Stratos, and Lancia 037, sprawling a time through the 1970s and into the 80s where rally cars matured and got serious, in all of the most immature and flamboyant ways. All of the expected character differences ring true here. Front-wheel drive cars spin the front wheels a lot and are difficult to get stopped, difficult to get off the line, but generally a bit safer. They'll induce understeer. Rear-wheel drive cars are of course a bit more tricky, easier to spin, but better off the line, and just a more enjoyable rallying experience for idiots like me. And as you'd expect, the modern cars are a little bit tighter, they've got more downforce, a little bit more stability. The older cars are a little bit more all over the place. But it's far more nuanced than that. For an example of this nuance, I'm going to look to one of the rallying greats, Colin McRae. Now, he struggled with the WRC cars compared to Group A cars because they required a smoother, more concise, less aggressive driving style, and this generational difference between the two rings true in Assetto Corsa Rally as well. With the Group A Lancia, you really have to get the weight moving around, get it all shifting, and drive it aggressively. Going into hairpins, for instance, you almost want to Scandinavian flick it, a little bit of handbrake on the power, a bit of a clutch if you need to. And when I first started doing this, I was dreadful. I'm still not great, but I'm slowly getting the hang of the technique. The Citroen Zara, on the other hand, is a much more sophisticated machine. It's got more modern technology, it's got electronics, traction control, it's even got some sort of kinetic anti-roll bar system. But all of that makes it a neater and tidier driving experience. To go fast, you have to be tidy. With this, you have to get it moving, and that's why McRae was so good in Group A and struggled a bit more in WRC cars. In other rally games I've played in the past, Group A cars and WRC cars from a similar generation are kind of just differentiated by a little bit of a grip difference, but they're completely different in this game. It feels like every car in this game has its own unique learning curve. You've got to really hone in on the techniques that suit that particular car, which is something I've just never really had to think about too much before, other than playing that sim that shall not be named. Got to watch out for those bumps, watch out for the ditches. When I first drove on loose surfaces in real life, the biggest surprises I found were just how crucial it is to shift the weight in the right way, and also how surprisingly low grip corner exits were at low speed. And those two things are just simulated wonderfully on Assetto Corsa Rally from the off. A quick note for those of you looking to play this game with a controller. We did test it, it does work, however, it's a little bit too pointy by default. You can adjust linearity and a dead zone, but that's about it. So it's possible, but way more challenging than with a wheel. I now want to move on to talking about the stages. Yes, those beautiful laser scanned stages. It's not the first time we've seen laser scanned rally stages, probably for most of us, but those who played Richard Burns Rally with specific mods will have come across laser scanned stages before. But we all just need to take a minute and bask at how incredible they look, how good the surface looks and feels, how the stages punish mistakes more than I've ever experienced before. There is plenty of variety within each of the stages too, despite the overall lack of stage miles available. Both locations feature fast flowing sections and tight hairpin bends, and I'm sure there are plenty of other areas you could nitpick away at, but at this early point I am mega impressed. Considering some of the other racing game experiences I've had on the same base graphics engine, I cannot believe how well optimised Unreal Engine 5 is in this particular scenario. The team have done a truly exceptional job to get rid of so many of the familiar foibles. The final foundational element comes down to competition, and whilst this is arguably less developed than the cars and the stages themselves, it's still present. We have asynchronous multiplayer from the get-go with global leaderboards, especially in time attack mode and also the events mode, which I'll come on to more in a little bit, but we also have AI cars you can compete against as well. The difficulty level here is fully customizable. You can also customize the skill range of your AI opponents, so you can find a level that suits you and feels authentic. So yes, the foundations are well and truly in place, but of course it's going to take a lot more than good foundations for this game to become one of the greatest rally games ever made. And thankfully, even on day one of early access, we're already seeing plenty of signs that go well beyond the foundations. There are so many intricate details that are immediately present when you play this game for the first time. Stuff like the spectators running and jumping out of the way when your car comes hurtling towards them. The stage side scenery feeling completely alive, you can knock over trees when you crash into them if they're small enough, or signs or anti-cuts. I also love the authenticity of the starting procedure, the fact that you get penalised if you accidentally run into the marshals. It all just adds to this layer of immersion and excitement before the stage, also giving you a chance to test your controls and make sure your wheel's connected too. Also impressive is the progressive mud build-up as you get further and further into a stage, and obviously the surface deformation underneath your car. As you exit a corner, the mud goes flying, the ruts appear, and especially when the stages are properly chewed up and you're further into the running order, it just looks excellent. I should touch more on the customizable stage conditions too, because it's not just about the degradation. You can of course also introduce rain into the mix, which completely changes the grip levels. You can also change the time of day, and that means sunrises and sunsets, which are beautiful, but also night driving. Yes, it's pitch black and this is pretty alarming. Because all the landscape is laser scanned, the lights sort of dance across the surfaces, and it's really immersive, properly challenging, very hard to spot your lines, to see what corners are coming up. You're relying so heavily on your co-driver. Obviously having the light pod on the front helps as well. However, if you get things wrong, oh no, that's a tree. You might lose your light pods. And when that happens, it becomes a little bit difficult to see. Where on earth am I going? He's telling me to slow down, he's probably right. Oh, what's happening here? Help! Predictable. Assuming you then make it back to service, you probably won't, you can then of course repair your car, but even this has intricate details of authenticity. For example, you can't actually change the lights without fixing the bodywork first. My Traxion colleague Ross pointed out that when you change gear in the Citroen Zara, both the paddles and the sequential stick are animated in sync, just like the real car. My other colleague Tom loved the authenticity of the Hyundai's overrun, backfire and flame spitting. When you go on board in replays, you can actually see the co-driver turning the pages. And I can't not mention the Rally Encyclopedia, because yes, in this game, you can check out rally history, you can look into some of the information and the rules, and you can even look at a tutorial for co-driver pace notes, essentially rendering our co-driver guide pretty much redundant for this game. All of these things are very, very exciting, but I'm going to stop gushing for a minute and provide some well-needed perspective. This is day one of early access, which means of course that perhaps unsurprisingly, this game is still a long way from being a complete package. Yes, Assetto Corsa Rally does have shortcomings. I mean, I noticed a few spelling mistakes for instance, but there are more fundamental problems. These are mainly nitpicking considering the game's early access moniker, but it's vital to point out that there's really not much game in Assetto Corsa Rally just yet. There simply isn't a lot to do. With only 2 environments incorporating 4 stages, you will literally and figuratively run out of road. It's not much better when it comes to game modes either. Yes, you can do a rally, either a single stage rally or a multi-day rally weekend. You can do time attack, which pits you against other people online in terms of a leaderboard, and there is also a progression-based feature called Assetto Corsa Rally Events. In here you'll find linear sets of challenges, whether that's location-specific or specific to a car like the Mini Cooper S. There are basic tests in here where you can score medals. The times haven't been finalised for these medals yet, so it's not really worth playing at this current stage, although you can compare your times against other people online. However, the sense of progression isn't the best. Yes, you can complete medals and unlock the faster cars as you move through, but of course with this game, you can already access those faster cars in other game modes anyway. It's a cool idea, it's still a work in progress, but at this point it sort of feels like an afterthought just to give you something progression based. The Traxion team has also found a small discrepancy in performance between AMD and Intel CPUs, with Ross's AMD Ryzen 7 appearing to hit better frames per second than Tom and I's Intel chipsets. We can't say for certain if this is a wider issue, but we would be interested to read your impressions in the comments below. I do also have concerns about the relatively lofty minimum requirements this game has, considering all of our testing has been done on relatively powerful PCs. The damage model at this stage is fairly basic too, so although there is pretty cosmetic deformation, bumpers fly off, boot lids detach, lights smash, radiators blow, the mechanical effects aren't quite as varied or severe. I should also mention that as much as we believe the team have nailed the gravel physics, it does feel like tarmac physics still have a little bit of a way to go. It is notably more authentic than the majority of rally sims already out there, but there is still an occasional minor pendulum effect. Similarly, the force feedback, on the devices we've tested with at least, feels like it's in a great place for day one, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are further refinements to be made along the way. The game's anti-lag pops and bangs could be more vocal, likewise its off-throttle engine audio, and we've yet to witness brake discs glowing during nighttime running, which is a shame. We also couldn't map a secondary gearshift control, so for Ross he had to choose between his Heusinkfeld magshift or the paddles on his Moza RSV2, whereas I also had to do the same with my Simucube Valo and Fanatec shifter. Other minor issues include the asphalt pace notes being called too late, and the paucity of nationality options. And then there's the tyre situation, which despite looking detailed on the surface of things with various compounds, heat and wear rates, is still an unfinished work in progress. The majority of these issues, however, are relatively straightforward to fix, and are to be expected from an early access game which, let's be blunt, fundamentally nails the most important aspect, and that is the driving. So, what can we expect to see from Assetto Corsa Rally in the future? Clearly, the hope is that the game will feature many more cars and stages, with Supernova promising more content in subsequent early access builds. The biggest potential issue that we see is the number of stages specifically, because they are laser scanned, and it's not an easy process. The result is believably cambered and detailed road surfaces, but this comes at the expense of lengthy development times. This is where community-made content could well come to the fore, and the development team have confirmed that modding is on the table. But along with that, there needs to be some form of quality control to try and maintain the standards. In terms of online action, as we mentioned earlier, Assetto Corsa Rally will have asynchronous multiplayer leaderboards and special events from day one of early access, and will add synchronous online game modes in future. However, a club-style league-making mode, a popular feature of EA and Codemasters rally games, is yet to be confirmed. The final game will have 120 kilometers of roads across 10 special stages, peppered amongst 5 locations, with more added in post-release updates. Over 30 cars and a selection of new game modes are also in the works for version 1.0, including a rally school and a career mode. But perhaps the most important feature for sim racing enthusiasts is VR compatibility, which will be implemented at a later date. Console versions are also in the works. And for those of you on PC using triple screens, there are triple screen options present, but unfortunately we haven't been able to test these ourselves. This really does feel like the start of something truly special. So long as content continues to be added, features continue to be developed, early quirks are ironed out, which I'm sure they will, being early access, we have the makings of a true rally sim here. One that sort of puts other rally games into perspective, and one which finally might just take the fight to Richard Burns Rally. Bearing in mind, Richard Burns Rally's had about 20 years of mod development, so there's hundreds of stages, hundreds of cars, hundreds of plugins. Supernova are going to be a very, very busy development team with this one. As always, we want to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Leave us a like if you've enjoyed the video, subscribe for more, and until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to play some more Assetto Corsa Rally, but I hope you have a great day.